coming to get you.
Welcome to the Fear Central podcast. I am your host, Mike, and joining me this week,
Chris,
Heather,
Paul,
and just like everybody else, we've been gone for a while because stay at home and
social distancing
and gigantic freeze storms and
what?
Everything else.
Snow.
What are you talking about?
What?
Ice and
What?
Ice. Sorry,
Social distancing. What's that about?
I don't know. Could be this bug. Yeah.
Like Starship Troopers.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to watch
bugs.
Starship Troopers.
Heather goes into anaphylactic beatings.
But we do hope everybody
That
has
brain
been
bug
safe.
was thinking. That was a problem.
It's a thinking bug. That's a thinking bug. We've got snorts.
Chris has the snorts.
I'm just remembering the last time you told me that you attacked your husband.
Now we have to get into that in a minute. We'll get
Okay.
into the history of
Okay.
things here soon.
It was rather funny.
But yeah, we're back.
Still is.
With y'all. We've, I guess, been on a hiatus for a little bit because of
I've missed you.
we've been preparing a meal with some fava beans.
And a nice Chianti.
Chianti.
So what we thought we would do with our reintroduction is reintroduce ourselves.
Yeah.
And kind of give you a little bit of history of how we got into horror and where we see horror going and then where we're going as a podcast and
Where are we going?
outside.
No.
Oh.
There's a lot of equipment here. You want to drag all this out on the porch?
In the snow?
You probably got a point. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe not that.
Okay.
But so me myself, I started watching horror at a young age, as many people do. I was probably around 8 or 9 when the original John Carpenter's Halloween came out.
You're aging yourself.
I know, I am. It's okay.
Carbon dating, I believe it's called.
Carpenter dating, yes.
Yes. As long as it's the horror director John Carpenter and not the one that hung out with Bob Clark.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But so my introduction to horror was the original John Carpenter's Halloween. 8 scared the living piss out of me. Because I guess my age wasn't prepared for everything that was going to come from that movie. And what really makes it sad is it was a TV edit.
Okay.
And it still scared the hell out of me. Because, they cut out all that stuff, especially in the late 70s, early 80s.
The things that would get your ghost, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah, things that would get my ghost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bob. But then, you get into high school, and all of a sudden, horror movies are cool. So, Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street,
Now
on
you
and on.
now you definitely dated yourself.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But did I with all these remakes?
Yes.
Oh.
You're not
yes, you
12.
did. You're
But
not
you
12.
hate the remakes.
I do
so,
hate the remakes,
Yeah.
so I am aging myself.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Still younger than some.
So, John Carpenter's Halloween is the first scary thing you can remember watching?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the scene that bothered you the most?
Well, okay. Honestly, I don't remember
Okay.
any of that, but I did actually start out watching. I want to say it was called The Night Stalker. It was about the journalist, news reporter that would go out, and it was kind of like what I call the original X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
He was a
Kolchak.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was Kolchak the Night Stalker or something.
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. They were.
I actually watched that first, but none of those ever scared me. It was not until I got to Halloween that I got scared.
Okay.
And then, of course, my parents are like, "Oh, that he'll never watch them again now." Right?
We got it out of his system.
Yeah, he's done with them.
I-
You let
I-
him watch. If you let him watch it now and it scares him, he'll be done. No, can't say that happened.
Okay.
But then it's been a love passion ever since. just, in my house, they're like cops being called if they don't hear screaming coming from my house.
We got to make sure they're okay.
Yeah. Are y'all okay? There's no
Scream
screaming?
bloody murder if you're all right back there.
Well, the very first time it happened, you were video editing, and the cops did not believe him that the girls and I were okay. So they actually had to come in and look at us before they would leave. And when we explained that he was a horror director, then all of a sudden it was okay. And
It was cool.
then it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
It was hip
Yeah.
to be
Okay.
square.
So, if you're a sadistic jerk, just pretend you're a horror
There you
director.
go.
Yeah.
You'll get away with murdering.
Horror. I was saying it in French. Horror. No, there's no trill.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were traveling through the thrall with the dark crystal and going, hurrah. We're going to hurrah.
Horror.
But yeah, that was my introduction into horror, and of course, as I got into high school, horror movies became cool, and there was just something about them that really kind of spoke to me, and so now that's why I have decided to go in and make my own, and scare other people.
Okay.
Who's next on the chopping block?
I don't think that's clockwise at all. Okay.
That would be the counter.
Okay.
All right, Paul.
I am Paul. I am a journalist, and I got into horror at a very young age because my mom decided it was cool for me to get into Betty Davis and Vincent Price things that she liked as a kid. So
Yeah, that's going back there.
Yeah. So I started with House on Haunted Hill, and at an insanely young age, I watched Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, which I went several years without watching, and then I watched it again. I'm like, this is like 2.5 hours. How did I have patience for this?
Yeah.
Right?
But still holds up pretty good. Whenever I finally realized that I actually really enjoyed scary movies was we had a UHF station back in San Marcos, and they had the Friday night movies, and basically I just kept, they said, coming up in 30 minutes, Critters 2, the new batch, and I would run into the kitchen, and I'd be like, Mom, is it okay if I watch this? Come on, it's going to be on TV, it's fine, they're showing it on TV, there's nothing wrong with that, and they're like, I don't know, I guess, okay. And then, Mom, they're showing The Shining. It's fine, right? It's going to be on TV. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Your mom's a bit of a pushover when it comes to you, isn't she? Just a touch.
I didn't know what the blowjob bear was doing in The Shining.
Well, that's a good thing at that age.
Then, if you say you still don't know, then we have an issue.
It took me a lot of rewatches to figure out that scene.
Bear's doing what? Rewind. Bear's doing what? Rewind.
Hell of a party.
Yeah.
Would that be the first time a furry was videotaped?
Figures Kubrick would introduce us to that.
Right?
But yeah, so Halloween was always a big thing. I mean, I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
Every sitcom had a Halloween episode back in the day.
Almost every show had a Halloween episode.
I loved Roseanne's Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was something that I always dug. Mm-hmm. Scooby-Doo had a heyday revival. I loved Scooby-Doo meets the Boo Brothers.
Oh, I love that one. I absolutely love that one.
Like Hee Haw meets the Addams Family or something.
Yes. Yes, very much. No, more like Hee Haw meets... Oh my god, my brain just went blank.
Ghost and
Casper.
Mr. Chicken.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
And you could always count on Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin
Oh, yeah.
every year. Now you're good if you can find a Charlie Brown anywhere.
That is my favorite line out of Trick or Treat. Whenever the dad's trying to get his kid to go back inside, he's like, "Go back and watch Charlie Brown," and the kid's like, "Charlie Brown's an asshole."
Yeah.
I think he was the only non-asshole in that whole show.
Yes.
Lucy was an asshole.
Linus wasn't.
Well, no, I guess Linus.
Charlie
Peppermint
Brown just had
was,
depression.
Yeah,
Linus is the voice of reason.
yeah. Lucy's the devil. Peppermint Patty, we just don't know about her. She's out there.
Schroeder, I guess, is okay, but he's kind of a dick.
Yeah. And he had Pigpen. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Language. TVPG for language.
Crick?
TVNA for language. Thank you.
Shit.
But you got into a lot of the foreign films at a young age too, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't even think what the first foreign language film I watched was. Yeah, like when it came to I really scoured the shelves of the video shops that we had, because we had 3 or 4 where I grew up. So although I didn't always like plumb the horror section, I would go into and find everything. Oh, I remember the first foreign language film I got into. I got into El Mariachi the day or week it came out.
Okay.
Whenever Desperado came around, I was like, sweet, they made a sequel to El Mariachi, and I was like 10 years old. the Monica was the name of the video manager at one of the video stores. It was Latina, and she was like, "You watched that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was a great movie."
Okay.
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 There we
Well,
go. Who's next?
I guess I will go.
Okay.
I was probably in the 5th grade, maybe.
Okay.
I think I was about 5th grade. And my mom would never allow scary movies. She didn't like them. They scared her. She didn't like them. Well, it was probably a week or so before Halloween. I was in 5th grade. We lived out in the middle of nowhere. We weren't trick-or-treating or anything like that. And my dad happened to be in town, and he worked on the road, so he was gone probably 50 weeks a year. I mean, he was gone all the time. And so he just happened to be in this particular Halloween week. And so he talked my mom into letting him show me a scary movie. And it wasn't a TV edit scary movie. He went and he rented Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, that's a good one to start with, yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is.
perfect one to start with. So we lived in the middle of the country, like no neighbors. We lived in the boondocks.
Yeah.
And so it's probably, my mom had gone to bed, so it was probably 9:30, 10 o'clock before we even started watching the movie. He and I sat up, we had popcorn, we watched this movie. I was scared. It was great. Well, then it was time for me to go to bed. So I went to bed. Well, my dad decided it would be a great idea to go get the chainsaw out of the garage and start it up outside my window.
Therapy sessions.
Therefore, completely cementing the fact that I was terrified. I was like hiding in my closet, and he comes in. He's like, "Oh my God, where?" Like he thought he didn't know where I was. I was like hidden underneath things in my closet, and I finally came out, and it was fine. We got a good laugh out of it. I didn't sleep that night, but it just kind of became our thing. Like I always, if I wanted to watch a horror movie, I always watched it with my dad. My dad was a huge horror fan from as long as I can remember. We've always watched horror movies together. I mean, up until, well, we don't watch a lot of movies together anymore, but we used to. Like every week or something, we'd get together and watch scary movies. But I think, I'm trying to think of the one that kind of, that was what introduced me to it. What terrified me beyond belief was I got to watch the It miniseries.
Right.
Okay. And keep in mind, when you're a kid, I didn't like clowns to begin with. Okay. So we watched It. Well, that next day we were up in the attic cleaning out some things out of the attic, and we came across a box that had belonged to my grandmother. Well, we opened the box, and there's a porcelain clown in said box. Well, my grandmother had
Because
bought
back
it.
in the day, those were just delightful.
Well, this one had a voice box.
Okay.
And so my dad decides it's going to be a great idea. Let's put some batteries in this thing. The damn thing laughed like Pennywise. It was the scariest thing ever. Well, so it went in a box, in a bag, in a box, in a trunk, in the back of the attic, right? Well, I didn't see it again until we moved when I was a kid. Well, my mom and dad, we had forgotten what was in the box. So we go up there and we're moving the box, and this has been years. And we open the box
And the
and the
battery
damn
still
thing
worked.
the damn thing laughed. And it was in another box in a bag in a trunk, and it was dropped off out elsewhere.
The batteries were still good?
I don't know, but it laughed, and that was all it took. And I honestly, I
They
guess
don't
I was
make demonic
probably
clowns like that anymore.
no, they
I know.
don't.
They're not that
I
good
was
anymore.
probably maybe in the 6th grade, so probably what 12, 13,
Somewhere in
10,
there.
11.
Yeah.
I was little,
Yeah.
and until about 5 years ago, no, it's been longer than that.
Something like that.
Yeah, until about 5 years ago, I called Mike on a whim, and he just happened to be home, and I was like, I really want to watch it. He's like, are you kidding me? Because I hadn't watched it since. I refused. Like, I would turn the other way when I saw anything had Pennywise on it. And so I called Mike, and I'm like, hey, bring over it, and let's watch it. And we watched it, and I'm like, what the hell was I scared of? Although, I will say, to this day, I cannot go into a public bathroom or any bathroom stall that has a floor drain. I can't do it. I still can't. And I won't.
Did you see the Kotobukiya figure of Pennywise climbing out of the storm drain?
Yes.
That's pretty cool looking.
That is pretty cool looking, but I won't go in a bathroom with a floor drain. So, that was kind of my introduction and my kind of cementing that horror was my thing.
When the first time you watched it, was it on TV or was it on VHS?
It was on VHS.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched it on TV the first time and didn't know it was a two-parter.
Oh.
So
So you only got to only a little bit.
Stanley slit his wrist, and I thought that was the ending, which is very traumatizing for a 6 or 7 year old.
Right. And as if you can tell, Paul and I are pretty close in age. And we're not that much younger than Mike and Chris, but we're, you know.
Aw, you're the baby.
No, Paul is the baby.
Gaga. Goo goo.
Lady?
No, I've just loved horror movies ever since. And like Paul, I have an affinity for foreign horror. A very big one. And so I'm constantly like, hey, Paul, I need a foreign horror movie. Hey, have you seen this one? Hey, what should I watch this one? No, you shouldn't watch that one. Okay, I won't watch that one. Can we watch these, please?
Bullshit. Every time you're like, it's like, I don't recommend.
I'm like, okay, well, this is what I have to
I'm
watch.
halfway through it now.
Right?
Although it did take you quite a while to watch Audition.
It did take me a while because I hate needles. I'm not to the point of having a panic attack like my child, but I don't like needles. The scene in Saw where they throw her into the needle pit just completely turns my stomach. I can't look at shots. I can't look at the needle itself.
The bull rings through the Achilles tendon in that one Saw movie. That's my pain threshold.
Nope. The needles is what gets me.
Me is always fingernails. If anything happens where the fingernail pops off, I'm just like, oh.
For whatever reason, I always think of Stir of Echoes with that.
Yes.
And
that scene, that one scene, I was just like, oh.
The one thing in those movies that gets me is like when bones break.
That's what
That
gets
sound.
me.
The sound.
It's the sound that gets me. It's not
So
necessarily
if I sneak
what's
up
being
behind you
done.
with a celery stick and just go,
No, it's
No,
different.
I won't do it.
well, that's what the sound. That's
I
what
know,
they use
I
for
know,
sound
I
mixing.
know.
But
It's not in the context of the movie. There's not dramatic music playing.
Yeah.
And there's not like a bunch of
So if you're going to do that, you need your Bluetooth speaker on with the dramatic music, and you come up behind them with the celery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And pretend that you're resetting your arm or something.
Yeah.
It's the sound. But I mean,
But Chris is also the same way with the gushy sound. Like if they're sticking
I
their hand
actually-
in a body.
I'm actually over that. Okay, so the reason that used to offend me is because I did work
Offend.
in the
She
medical
was very
field.
offended. She's like,
Offend.
that's not the way it sounds when I stuck my hand in the
Yeah,
body.
well,
Well, you know, not all of us have had that experience.
I was friends with a med student whenever I watched Hostel, and he was sitting there going, "That is not the way that limbs would look."
years ago, I worked in the medical field, and unfortunately, one of the patients that I had been sliced open by a wheat thrasher. And I was literally told to put my hand inside and hold his organs in place while they were attempting to get everything else set up. And that sound alone, it's not something you ever forget. The smell is never something you forget. And so for the longest time, I could not handle, it's more specifically the sound of blood being squished.
Squish, squish, squish.
Now it doesn't offend me. It doesn't bother me. I'm okay with it. It's good. It's just bones cracking for some weird reason, and it has to be, there's a certain sound to it. Yes, they use celery, but there is a specific sound when a bone breaks that
You know the one that gets me every time?
is...
The one in Resident Evil 2, where she slides down the thing and her fingers get bent back, and
Oh,
she
yes.
has to take them and
Yes.
pop them back into
Yes.
place. That sound, I have to mute it because I know it's coming, and it turns my stomach every time.
What about that decade where every time somebody fell down, they got a compound fracture?
Isn't that ironic that happened?
It happened a
In
lot.
every
in a lot of
80s movies.
Yes, it
It was
did.
ridiculous.
But no, there's
set
just,
it.
and it's not all the sounds. It's not all the bone breaking sounds.
No, it's-
there's just particular
Yes.
ones that are done really, really well. I mean, having broken bones, you know that sound, and you know it's never a good sound. So
Yeah, no.
it just takes you back to that whole in pain and oh god,
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty much.
So
That's fair.
Yeah.
For me, it's a feet thing, and yeah, the only broken bone I ever had was my ankle. So
you've always had the foot issue, like shin down.
Yes.
It's always a problem for Paul.
yes,
He can't.
can't do it.
It's one of those. For me, it's like knees when they hit them just right, and their knees like they break their knees.
Misery must not die.
Yeah, yeah, and that's for me. That's the worst as knees, mainly for obvious reasons. Paul had ankle breakage and things, and I've had 5 knee surgeries, and it's just not. It's not a pretty sound.
Well, it's probably a good
Pretty
thing
much.
that scene wasn't done in sports, because every time one of those ankles snapped the wrong way, they rewind it like 15 times throughout the rest of the game.
I can
and go,
watch that,
and then it was
but
this-
there's no sound. But there's no sound.
That's true.
Like they don't have a sound.
Well, the one in the 80s, didn't they like mute everything just for the mic so they could get the sound?
Pretty much.
I don't think
I don't
that's
remember who that
necessary.
was.
That's not necessary at all.
You went too far, John Madden.
Or maybe that was just my brain thinking that they did and you got the sound.
So I guess that leaves me.
Yeah.
That leaves you.
Mm.
Go push the button.
I'm going to be aged some. So my infinite love of horror came from the Universal films,
Oh yeah.
the really old school, and I loved the Draculas. I loved Frankenstein.
See, I didn't get
Creature
into
from the
those.
Black Lagoon.
Like my dad didn't get me into those until after he introduced.
That was my introduction.
See, I wish that would have been my introduction. It would have been
Then
easier slide.
an easier slide than just bam.
And-
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It.
Well, and the weird thing was when I wasn't watching horror movies with my mom, which a lot of them were just like Paul, they were on the TV, so a lot of the stuff was blared. I watched Japanese horror with my grandmother, which was even freakier.
I was just fixing to say
Japanese
I'm
horror
sitting
movies
here,
from what era?
There's
From the 70s and the 80s, and they were pretty violent. And then
So-
Did you
they
watch House at a young age? That movie's crazy.
So there's a picture somewhere floating around, and I take this back. That was not the first horror, in quotations, movie I'd ever seen. My mom, I was probably 3, and my mom had, her best friend had 2 kids, and my little sister was just an infant. And so they decided to make Couch Fort, and we watched Godzilla.
That was so much fun.
And I was 3. There's one vampire movie, and I'm not sure which one it is, and I haven't been able to figure this out, where it's like they're laying in a bed, and there's a window, and there's like a shadow. It's almost...
Nosferatu?
No, it's not. It was after that. Like, it was a later movie, like later.
Was it
like,
still black and white?
Was it a Hammerstein? Was it a Hammerstein?
I'm not
one?
sure. I don't know. I don't remember. But I remember watching that on TV, like, not like peeking around the corner and watching, and then going to bed, and we had a street light outside, and we had white lines, the solid white lines that the light shone through, and so shadows would move across them. Terrified me.
Because didn't they use that a lot in Salem's Lot?
They used it in just about every horror movie.
Because that came out in the late 70s? Early 80s?
Well, I mean, like, whenever you think about that going to vampire fiction, that dates back all the way to, like, every incarnation of Dracula.
Pretty much,
True.
yeah. But that's what started the love of horror. I always wanted to know how they did it. And then it just kept going from there. And then, of course, the older I got, the more gory I wanted it to be. And the more blood I wanted. And I wanted to know how they did the blood and how they did all this stuff. And it just became infinite. Most of the horror movies nowadays I love. The only particular ones I'm not into is what I consider the gore porn.
Hostel and Saw and things like that. Guinea Pig. Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust, that kind of thing.
Well, see, she should say she was great into it until she got pregnant.
Okay, so I was very young when I got pregnant. I was 19. And Aliens was playing. And you should never watch horror movies when you're pregnant. Weird shit happens in your brain, and I kept thinking, oh my god, this kid's gonna come out just like the alien. She's gonna pop straight out of my stomach, and I'm gonna fucking die.
What I love is there's a British sitcom called Coupling, and their Lamaze episode. They keep referring. It's horrifying. It's like, really? Yeah, the John Hurt moment. They're talking about the first alien.
Oh my god!
Chest burster Athena.
And my mother is like, for days I couldn't sleep because every time I tried, that one scene just replayed in my head. And I was like, I would wake up screaming, and my mom would come in, and she'd be like, are you okay? I'm like, no, get this thing out of me. It's going to kill me. And she's like, you're fine. It's a baby. It's gestating, and it'll be fine. You'll have drugs, and, the baby will come out healthy. And I'm sitting here going,
where is she going to come out?
Pretty much. Where is she coming out of?
She talks you down, and then you like go out to the living room. Wow, you look like you're ready to burst.
Pretty much. But yeah, so I mean that was kind of an inside joke for a long time with the family, but now it's more I get, I saw this cool thing, can you turn me into it? How long is that going to take?
That right there, my son wanted to start watching horror movies when he was little, and I would let him watch ones that were not scary, like
Friday the 13th.
No.
You're talking like Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Okay, those
kinds
ones,
of things. Like Are You Afraid of the Dark? And we'd read the Goosebumps books, and that's kind of how he got started. And then one day, we were at a friend's house, and they were letting their kids, who were my son's age, one older, one younger, all watch Resident Evil. Well, Charlie had never seen anything like that. I wouldn't let him. Well, then he was terrified of zombies. Like, massively afraid of a zombie outbreak. Until Chris made him into a zombie. And he has had a love for horror films ever since. Because he knows in the movie realm, it's not real. Like, he realizes, there's a lot of kids, I mean, he's older now, but when he first started, they didn't realize it wasn't real. So if he was afraid of something, Chris turned him into it. She turned him into a lizard person. She turned him into a zombie.
Yeah.
You've turned him into lots
Thin
of
Man.
things.
We've done Thin Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
It was to help him with his fears,
To get over
and
the fear.
to get over it. And you know, it's one thing when you become an adult and you can go back and look at it and go, "What the hell was I scared of?" And it's
that's
another
how it was
thing
with it.
when you are the adult and you have a kid and the kid's scared and you're trying to help them bridge that gap. So you kind of have to come down on their level.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. I love turning the kids into monsters and creatures and showing them how to do effects, because then they know, okay, well, I know how that's done. And you
Hey,
know,
Mom, look
yeah.
at that makeup. You can see the edge.
You can see the edge lifting. Oh,
yeah.
look, I know
Uh-huh.
that's
I get
blood.
that. I was like,
Our middle
Mom.
child's like that now. She goes,
Yeah.
because of y'all, I can't not watch a movie that way.
Yeah. He's like, Mom, that edge is lifting. Chris would be pissed. You're right. She would be pissed.
The two infinite things that have always been stuck with me is you make sure you pay attention to the edges, and you make sure that the hands and the feet are taken care of as well, so that everything is encompassed. And it pisses me off when I see
Well,
that.
and the other thing is that we have in our circle there are younger kids.
Yes.
There are two in particular, both girls, great little girls. But Mike shot a film, partially in my house, partially in their house, partially in another house that I own. Well, in this film, there was a lot of blood, right? Well, they were watching Chris mix up the blood and put it on them, so they knew it wasn't real blood, and
Yeah, they actually had fun helping me mix
they
it.
helped make it. And then they're really funny when Monica had called and was like, "We've corrupted my child." And Chris and I were like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, we were
and she's
freaking
like,
out.
"We were outside," and she goes, It happened to be a blood moon," and she didn't say anything. She didn't ask Monica what it was. She just said, "Hey, Mom, look, Chris made the moon bloody."
Yeah, and then I had to get on the phone and explain, no, I didn't make the moon bloody. It's normal
it's a blood
thing.
moon. Yeah,
it's okay.
But we are super careful with them.
Yes.
Because they are
Very impressionable.
they're very impressionable because they are so young.
Yes.
And they don't quite understand. And we watch a lot of horror movies.
And a lot of the times there are some stuff that I do that I do not let them around because I think it's too
much.
Too much for them right now at this
Yeah.
age. Now, 5-10 years down the road, if they see the work or they see the props or, anything that I've made for...
I think that
stuff
Rebecca is
then.
going to be the one that's all about the horror movies and the
She's already
makeup
about that.
and yeah.
Yeah.
See,
She's
and I
going
was like that way for years with our kids. Before we got into filmmaking and whatever,
Right.
we'd be in the store and I'd put on a mask right in front of him.
Yeah.
And of course, they would get scared a little bit because it's kind of creepy looking. But then I would take it off right in front of them and go, "See, it's just me."
Yeah.
And then, of course, Chris, being the protective mother, is like, "Stop doing that. You're going to scare them, give them nightmares." I'm like, "No," because now they know it's just me.
But I did still give them nightmares. And they still did not sleep sometimes.
But I have to depend on my buddies and my child for horror movie watching. My husband doesn't watch horror movies, so I depend on you guys for your
I love
support.
horror movies. They're the more blood, the more gore. I'm good.
Okay.
And we're not even opposed to a bad one,
No,
We love a good
I
bad
love
horror
bad
movie.
ones. Is that
except for one.
Treevenge?
Treevenge?
No, Snow Sharks.
Snow Sharks.
Oh, my
We couldn't
God.
finish that
We
one.
couldn't finish it.
We got 2 minutes into it?
Well, I don't.
I think we got 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. Were you here that day? We
No,
watched
I
Snow
think he was
Sharks.
here.
I love
You
the
were not
bad
allowed
ones,
to come.
especially when alcohol is involved.
Yes.
That makes it the best.
And I mean, to the point where we have Sharknado watch parties.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Red carpet.
We had props for pictures and all of our food, and it's a lot of fun. being able to be around people who like to watch the same things you do.
Yeah.
And when I became a teenager, my dad and I had started watching the X-Files when it came out. So we watched them. Well, then it got to be where I went off to college. Well, I would leave on Sunday, and I would come home on a Friday from college, and because I went to school several hours from where I lived, and I would leave in enough time to get there so that I could watch the X-Files episode on my own, and my dad would watch it on his own, and then we'd call and we'd talk about it. Mm-hmm. That was like the best Sunday nights, because we were bonding.
Like you do that with all of us.
I know I do it with all of you, but that's how I got started doing that.
You're just like, oh my God, look at this.
I am. I'm just like, oh my gosh, have you guys seen this?
I think we
It's
even
amazing.
watched a movie on the phone together once.
We did.
We paused the movie till we were both synced at the same time on
Well.
the TV.
We did,
Well-
but now we all need the what you got, Wendy, for Christmas. We all need one so we can all do
An
that.
Echo show.
Yeah, so we can all watch movies at the same time.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of the distant states go. Oh.
So where do you guys think that the horror genre is heading?
Well, I think horror as a genre is heading exactly where everything is right now. It's a good and a bad thing that the entry level into getting something filmed, getting it distributed, and everything is a lot wider.
Yeah.
Like
Much wider.
you've got but you can get released or dumped anywhere.
Yeah, this is
and
true.
Even like Netflix originals, like it'll get some buzz for that first week, but if
And
it
then
doesn't
it'll
have
die
any
down.
traction,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a month later people have forgotten what it was, or like it has gone buried in the algorithm.
Yeah,
So-
and then you've also got some of those streaming services that, unless you're absolutely into it, you may not get viewed, like Shudder or what's the other ones, Scarebox or whatever.
Screambox.
Screambox. Yeah.
You know, if you get put on one of those, then you really need to market yourself. Which one, it's going to help them build their audience.
Right.
Yeah.
But there are some of those movies on the streaming services that are just bad.
Yeah.
And they're bad in a good way.
Yeah.
Like,
Bad
I am
script,
not
bad acting, bad everything.
I am one of like the biggest bad horror movie fans. Like, I watched a movie and I'm like, guys, you got to see it so bad in all the right ways.
Microwave Massacre.
Microwave Massacre. Frosty really giving it to that girl.
I don't know. Like, I mean, it's hard to argue with Troll 2. Like,
Uh-huh.
dubbed
Oh,
the
that's a
best
cult classic.
dubbed the best bad movie. But I really love Birdemic.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Birdemic
Yeah.
is a gorgeously bad movie.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And we like to find, like, we get together all the time. And we did before the pandemic. We'd get together. We'd have Sunday dinners. We are really missing that right now. But we like to theme when we have our if it's close to Thanksgiving, we'll watch a Thanksgiving movie. If we're watching a Christmas one,
Yeah.
and we had probably 20 people here, and we
Oh,
watched
Lord,
this
yes.
short called Treevenge.
It was like 9 minutes long.
It was like, no, it was a little bit longer than
Was it
that.
that?
Yeah, I think so. Just a little bit,
It
though.
reminds me of Rotten Tomatoes?
Attack of the Killer
Attack
Tomatoes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Killer
yes,
Tomatoes.
but Christmas trees. And it was bad. And we laughed and we
So
laughed
hard.
and we laughed. It was amazing. But I like horror movies I can laugh at, but I also want to be scared.
Yes.
And right now, that's not something that you see a lot right now.
No.
Well, and that was something I was actually just thinking about. Is like, as many times as we sat behind these mics, I don't think we've ever talked about like if there's still a movie or a movie or two that you consider like actually still scary, like it still
No.
affects you these days.
No.
I can
Yes.
name them.
Oh, wait. Yes, there is one.
Okay.
I have mine. Y'all all know it.
Yep.
Y'all will figure.
Yeah, that's
you out
the
there
thing.
will. You're fixing to find out too.
Okay, so what's yours?
Amityville.
Oh, yes. Okay, so that one I know for you.
Nope.
Just the original? Or?
No, the first
No,
and second.
it's-
The ones after that don't affect me, but the first and second ones I cannot watch. And I watched the first one I watched not too long ago with Mike, I think.
No, we watched the second one. 'Cause
It
you were like,
was
"This
the
is
second
first
one.
time I've seen
And this
it
is
all
the
way
first time
through."
I've always seen it because it just, I don't know why. It's that particular movie. I don't know what it is
There's
about that
always
movie.
the part
It's
with the-
always the basement.
The basement
Always the
going
basement.
into the secret area.
Yes,
So
always
it's
that part.
Before the killing spree?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the basement, and it gets me every time, and I refuse to watch it. Mike's like, let's watch Amityville. I'm like, shut the hell up.
I watched Amityville to the Possession. Like we had bought the video and it stayed shrink wrapped for quite a while, and I just couldn't sleep one night. I guess I was probably 14 or 15, and I just unwrapped it and watched it at 4 a.m. before going to school. And when I got to the end, after he had the relationship with his sister and took the shotgun to everything, I was traumatized for that day. Like none of the stuff about the paranormal stuff, none of that fazed me. It was that ending. I was like, oh man.
I could just imagine the school psychiatrist. Oh, what did you do this morning that made you feel this way, honey?
We didn't
I
have
got
them
up
when
and
we were in
watched,
school. What are you talking
you
about?
know.
Get your ass to class. Do your assignments. We didn't
There
get
was
a lot of
counselor.
They were usually doing drugs.
I don't think he would have talked like that, but yeah.
Absolutely no, no, but no. It's Amityville 2 for me, and it's always been. And I just can't. I don't know what it is, that basement scene. And I'm not afraid of basements. I mean, I'm not. Like, I can go to basement. I don't
Maybe it's
know.
the fear of unknowing what's down there.
It's kind of like my fear of dark water. And
Yeah, it's the
and
not
dark.
knowing.
It's not knowing what's out there, I
Yeah.
think, is what gets me. And I want something that like scares me, but I don't want it to like.
You want a safe scare.
I want a safe scare, but these days there's not as many. They're all jump scares,
Yeah.
or musical scares, where the music gets like real ominous, and then boom, something's real loud, and you jump. But that's not a scare.
Or you see it
You know
out
what I
of the
mean?
corner of your eye,
You know,
or possession.
the ones that get me are the things you can't see.
Right.
Like, if it's...
When it's left to your own imagination.
Yes.
Which they don't do that much anymore because the audience wants to see more and more
They do.
and more and more.
They're a little bit gore hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to see it, experience it, and then go home and go, got a burger.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
why...
much.
I mean, I honestly... I like the paranormal activity movies. And not for any particular... I'm not a huge found footage. I'll watch them. It's not my favorite genre. But I will watch them because you don't see what it is that's getting them.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see it. You know it's there, but you just don't see it.
This is true.
And that's what I like. I like to... It scares me not knowing.
What
Yeah.
about you?
When you can fill in what happened in your own brain is usually much scarier than what
Yes.
anybody could show you.
Especially in our brains.
As far as one that I can't think of one that just I can't watch it because it.
I didn't say can't watch it. My two selections I watch all the time, but even as many times as I've seen them, they unnerve me.
Yeah, see, I don't have one. I mean, I love Hellraiser and I love the Lost Boys and whatever, but they don't. They don't strike a chord in me where I watch them and feel uneasy when I do watch them all the time.
Yeah. Lost Boys.
I
Lost
know
Boys.
which one
It would just
does.
be the way
Which
that.
one?
The latest Hellraiser.
No,
That was just wrong on all the
Yeah, I
levels.
know it was wrong,
Yeah.
but
It wasn't
It
that
was gross.
It pissed me off because it wasn't Doug for one.
No, and it was gross.
yeah, it was kind of
It
gross.
was gross. It wasn't. I mean,
There's a difference
the
between being
fingernail
a
thing gets
horror...
me, and it kind of sets me off edge. But that's not in every horror movie.
No.
And I think part of it is a lot of today's movies, they just want to be gross and in your face.
Yeah. Or
where
lots of
the
jump scares.
70s and 80s and back past that, but mostly 70s, they didn't want you to see what was going to get you. You know what I mean? Or just kind of hint at what's going to get you, and then it come after you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the benefit is there's so many people making movies these days that you can find movies being made like that.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not going to be like the biggest budget ones, but
And I'm not. And
Anybody
I'm not
in
a
the
with
big,
days of
iPhone.
Blumhouse, there are no real big budget horror movies
No.
anymore,
No.
which is kind of for the benefit almost.
we get to see a lot of horror movies that would have never been made otherwise.
Yeah.
This is true.
And a lot of small,
Yeah.
time
'Cause you
horror
even-
movie
you even
makers.
Look back at the original Friday the 13th. Yeah, there was some blood and guts in it,
but there
not
wasn't
every kill
right
was
blood and guts and gore.
completely shot. Mm-hmm. And then they would have a reveal later after
Yes.
he hit the body, going, "Oh, that's all it was? Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be so much worse."
Yeah. My other thing is right now with horror is trailers.
Yeah, quit putting
Trailers
the whole movie in the trailer.
kill me because, and that's why I don't watch a lot of trailers, because right now the main core parts of the movie are in the damn trailer.
Yeah,
Why leave? I know in a society of instant gratification that is what most people want. I want to be left guessing.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch.
Yeah.
Why am I going to
It's supposed to be a
spend?
peak show.
Why am I going to spend $20 on a movie ticket to go watch a movie that I watched every good part in
Yeah.
the trailer? You know what I mean?
The first experience I had with that was actually Wayne's World 2.
Mm-hmm.
MTV had shown so much of the funny parts of the movie that when you went and watched it, you went like, "Well, I've already seen all these funny parts."
Yeah. Where's the rest of it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But stop showing the whole movie in the trailer.
No, but none of us-
give me a glimpse.
Yes.
And then I go, "Oh, well, what happens next? I guess I got to go watch it."
Exactly. That's
Well, if they were smart, they would do the leading up to, not the actual of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it just feels like instant gratification is something that everybody has to have right now, and I just don't understand.
It's like Chinese food.
it's
In
like we've
5 minutes,
lost-
you'll be hungry again.
exactly.
Yeah, it's like we've lost our sense of suspense. We don't want the suspense anymore. We want to see what happened. Okay, it's a train wreck or a car crash. Great, I drove by, I rubbernecked. Let's just get on with our life.
And I think that's what's missing
Yeah.
is the suspense. That's a great way to put it. I want things to be suspenseful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it doesn't even particularly have to be a horror movie, but if it's suspenseful, I really dig it.
And
the
and
one that Paul and
suspense
I,
is scary.
the one that Paul told me, gave me a heads up on, was suspenseful,
Yeah,
but it didn't go anywhere near where you thought it was going to go.
yeah.
Chad,
It's
Chad
those-
did
it's
not
those
appreciate
buildups.
that not heads up on that one. But it was still a good movie.
Yeah.
Because all I knew is it wasn't going to be this kind of movie.
Right.
And so going in, that was pretty much the only thing I knew about said movie. I'm not going to go into which one it is because it's new and I don't want to spoil it. But, I was given the heads up. It's not this kind of movie because when you're watching it, you're thinking, okay, well, this is where it's going. And it doesn't lead that way. But still was suspenseful enough to keep my attention for the 2 hours that we
Yeah.
were watching it or however long it was.
I think two of the best examples of great horror filmmaking today is Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get Out and Us were both just like, what?
It
Are you
drew
kidding me?
you
Yes.
in.
Because it didn't show everything in the trailers.
Yeah.
And it left you guessing through the whole movie.
No.
Those are the best kinds. Like, for me anyways. And I get teenagers and
I still
I
like the
mean, I have-
mortuary collection, and I still like the autopsy of
Jane Doe.
Jane Doe.
That was a good one.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, there again, that was one that you didn't know till the end. That,
No.
Oh, that's what?
yeah.
And it just happened to be one of those ones that I was flipping through and I'm like, hey, for a Sunday dinner, let's watch this movie. Let me see if I can find this movie. We found the movie and we watched it. And we were all on the edge of our seats just staring at the screen quiet. And in
Yeah.
this group, ain't nobody quiet.
No. Never. It
So-
has to be really, really intriguing to get you
Yeah. Yeah.
to have silence in the group. But yeah, no. Yeah, and then I saw the mortuary collection, and I I fell in love with that. I was like, oh my God, this is like Trick or Treat.
I wish there was more to it, though.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
really liked it, but I wish there was more.
Yes.
Like, it was a series and not just a movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yes.
Like, I want it to be a series because I liked it that much.
That was a hint, you guys. Pick it up.
Yeah, come on. Get chop, chop. Get after it. Heather
Only
needs
if you
it.
got Clancy Brown.
I know.
Yeah.
You have to put somebody else in there. I know. He can come back.
Changes.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, and that's really what this whole podcast is about. Is, you know, not like some of the others that I've listened to where it's like just only movie reviews or, you know, stuff like that. We want to talk about the entitled everything encompassing in horror. You know, we're gonna have shows where we talk about, you know, board games or video games or horror novels and graphic novels.
I'm not much of a video gamer. You will learn this when we do those.
But she
When we
loves
do those.
she loves the board games.
I do love the board games. I'm terrible at them, but I try and I have a lot of fun doing it.
And we've done a couple of the card games with the horror trivia and
We did.
The
I'm looking
Halloween
forward. I'm
card
looking
game.
forward to the new Alice.
Yes.
She's gonna sneeze.
She's gonna sneeze. Everybody wait for it.
And wait for it.
This is the suspense we were talking about.
there it is.
Sorry,
Jump scare.
There
Sorry.
it is.
sorry. But the new what is it? Alice Cooper card
Yeah,
game.
Yeah,
I really want to get
Yeah.
that. It looks hella fun.
yeah, yeah. I've seen it on Amazon. There's already tons of expansion packs.
Yes.
For it. And I'm just like, okay, forget that and all these expansion. That's gonna be, I need a tax return or something. For all that. Sell a movie.
How adulting do we want to be?
We adult.
Sometimes.
Vaguely.
Oh, okay. I would say, yeah, that's where we're going with as we progress with subsequent shows.
And we will have movie reviews.
We will.
And we'll delve into other things. We may retouch on a couple of topics that we may have more information on now than.
Yeah.
The blood will flow
You
and
know?
the bodies will drop and everybody will be happy.
That's right.
Yes.
They'll just run screaming.
Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I cannot wait to get back on set and start filming.
Me too.
I'm
Got some
craft
of that coming
services.
soon.
I miss it so much.
Yeah. I'm craft services, so.
Yeah.
And Paul's the photographer.
Because Heather is actually a professionally trained chef.
I am.
So she does all our chefing for our
I am.
films.
I forgot to tell people what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
introduced
did.
myself because Chris, you didn't either.
Oh, no, I didn't.
No, not really.
Not really.
I'm a classically trained chef. That's not what I do as a job. I work for my family's business, and I enjoy it immensely. But yes, so I get to make all the gross food at Halloween. It's my favorite.
Oh, we do that every year.
Would
Every
love it.
year, it's my
Like
favorite.
Cat turds and intestines and
Dead rats,
dead rats.
Siamese meatloaf babies,
Yes.
shredded
That was great.
skin,
Those were my favorite.
intestines. Yeah.
We do all that.
the-
we
the-
go find the grossest one we can that's
We
still
do.
edible and go, that's what we're making this year.
Yeah, when we're hacking into the poor man with the intestines and the heart, and
Yeah.
we had
So
it laid out
awesome.
on the counter like a real man in clothes, and that was
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
They unfortunately wouldn't let me rig up the keg to his penis, though.
No.
there were
Gotta pump
children.
Okay.
There were children there.
That's
That's
true.
why we
We did that
cannot
too,
because
children.
as much as we are a horror podcast, we're also family friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we do all this with our families, and
A
We're
family that
just-
slays together.
we are just a giant family, and
Yeah.
we may not be blood related, but we're as close as you can get. So
Very much.
But for the
These
love
are
of
my
God,
people.
everybody, start wearing your mask because we want conventions back.
And stop licking things, for God's sakes.
Yeah, no more licking the ice cream in the store.
gross.
Okay, so going along with what Heather says, I didn't really introduce. So I work as a stylist.
You're a professionally trained
I'm
hairstylist,
a
yes.
professionally trained.
She's a beautician.
I'm a beautician. I'm also a makeup artist. I'm also a special effects makeup artist. I studied with Stan Winston School for the Character Arts.
I help.
Yes, she helps. I also have a couple of other businesses. I'm also a body painter, face painter for kids. So
I get painted all kinds of colors:
I-
orange, purple. It's fun.
I have a
Opa
side
Opa.
business called Eye Candy. I have another business that we're fixing to start up that will actually be online to sell the props and things that we have.
I feel like what
Had,
is it?
so.
What is the scene in Titanic where he's like,
I'm a king of the world.
no, I want to be naked and for you to paint me like your French girl. That's kind of how I feel with Chris. She's like, what color are we painting you today? I don't know. What color she got?
Yeah, it's always unique. I'm always adding to the kit, taking away. I'm always coming up with different ideas, and people are always like, well, if you do the effects, why are you doing hair and makeup? And I'm like,
Someone's got to pay the bills.
Something got to pay the bills because COVID's killing my shit. But
I mean, it's great now that we can start getting back on sets
Yes.
in limited quantities
Yes.
as long as we're following protocols.
Yes. And we had actually planned on this particular show 6 weeks ago.
yeah.
And then my son came down with COVID and we had complications. We
Well,
we were in the
you had it
emergency
again.
room.
You had
No.
it twice.
I've had it once. I had the flu.
Oh, okay.
I had the flu, along with my son having COVID. So we are finally good to go, and house is sterilized, and
Then a stupid snowstorm.
yes,
Yeah, and now
we're in snowpocalypse.
We are in
2021.
Texas, for God's sakes. I left Kansas for this freaking reason.
Negative temperatures should not be in Texas.
Hell no.
I mean, I love the cold.
Y'all
very
check
much
on your
so.
short friends, man. We
So
can't handle the
everybody
cold.
out there that's ever said when hell freezes over, guess what?
It
did.
happened in Texas.
Because normally we're at 120 degrees with 100% humidity
Yeah, in the shade.
in the shade. So
But,
negative
yeah.
4 is not okay.
No.
No, not at all.
No. But yeah, our family is,
And let us know about your families.
yeah, it expands. I mean, you know, we have an infinite love of horror movies, but it's been really weird because over the past 10 years of doing conventions and doing filming commercials and things like that, and also doing the horror movies, it's allowed us to meet people we would have never had the chance to meet.
And I've never got to go to a convention, a horror convention.
You will.
Right.
Have you, Paul?
And it's going to be fun. And you're
Not a
going to
horror
dress up.
convention. I'm going to dress up?
Yes.
Okay.
See, and,
I'm
and
down for
really,
that.
that's kind of how we came up with the idea to start doing the podcast. Was the first year we went to the Texas Frightmare Weekend, which was their 5th anniversary, about 10 years ago or so, and we realized there's thousands of us that are one giant
not
family.
just
Oh, yeah. And we want to and we want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Like, we want some feedback. Let us know.
What's
you
your
know,
favorite horror movie?
Because we live in an area where our biggest population is crickets,
Cows.
cows,
Cows. Cows are evil.
goats,
Cows,
sheep.
cricket. We live in the country.
Yeah,
Flies.
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 But with the cold, we haven't seen any.
That's
And
true.
mosquitoes. We have flies as big as a sparrow and mosquitoes the same size. Okay, so
That I can say is the only good thing about the snow.
no mosquito.
No mosquitoes.
Of course, it's also a good thing with the drought too, because then we don't get a whole lot of mosquitoes.
Yeah, but we don't need the drought.
Oh, I have a question for the crowd. What is a horror movie you would love to see done as a series?
I've got one.
What?
I'm going to say right now.
We'll save that for next time.
See what for next time.
We'll save it for another show.
Where we talk
Fine.
about things that could or should be.
Okay.
So,
That works.
you
I got a
know, any
couple.
ideas of you're like, I would really love to see this
Mortuary
made,
collection.
or- yeah.
Exactly. When you have one that you absolutely love and you're like, man, this needs to be a series.
Mortuary collection.
Or,
Yes, Mortuary Collection is one of our top ones, but there's several. Especially if you like to read
Trick or treat.
horror novels. Would you stop giving them away, please?
Yeah.
Shut your
I have more.
If you've seen a series that you're like, if this was made to a movie, they could go so much more over the
Yeah,
top.
right?
yeah. Let us know and we'll see what we can. We'll give you our ideas.
I do have just one question.
Okay.
What are you going to call?
No, not that one. Godzilla?
You know rule number
King
one.
Kong.
Godzilla.
Current incarnations of these two.
The one about
The
to come
one
out.
that's about to
The
come
one
out.
that's about to come out. With this current gen, I actually will go Kong.
I'm Godzilla.
Skull Island is
No.
easily my favorite of all these new movies.
I mean, I've never been a King Kong fan.
I wasn't
King
either.
Kong's not and I've seen the movies. I take my kids.
Skull
I only have
All
one.
sorts of
I take my
ass.
kid. We go see the movies. You know,
I had to throw it out there.
I think it's going to be Millie Bobby Brown again.
Oh, yeah, she'll win.
She'll totally
she'll
win.
totally win. Yeah,
Be her all the way.
She'll
But-
turn it up to 11.
Yep.
turn it down to 11.
Yes.
There will be something
Negative.
with 11.
To the underneath. The great
The
below.
10's usually the most. Yeah, but this one goes 11.
Yep. But
That was the reference. Yes.
Yeah, I figured
Good
that's
job.
where you were going
Good-
with that
yes.
one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally Spinal Tap. I knew that.
but
So we will let y'all enjoy the rest of your evenings and the rest of this week, and hopefully stay warm.
yes, stay
Check us
warm.
out on the-
Stay clean.
Yes.
Stay sanitized.
No
stay
licking.
masked.
Yep.
People.
And if at all possible, just stay home.
Exactly.
You know. But we will catch y'all next week, and as always.
Stay scared.